it works. Wanted to talk really quickly about the slate tonight. You know that she's going to be gone for the next week or so. Don't get back until next week. We're going to be piecing together. Rhodey will have some shows. Hopefully we'll get Brandon Cruz to do a few things for us. And we'll get everything to you guys. But wanted to do a quick first look as I had a few minutes this morning, as long as the internet is working well enough. And hopefully it gets over to you guys quickly. It's only a 2-gamer, so it should be a pretty straightforward slate. It's definitely, without question, you have Milwaukee at San Antonio. This spread is 8.5, which basically guarantees you that Milwaukee's sitting at least one, probably multiple players, especially after a fast-paced game against Indiana last night. My guess is would normally be Giannis. They've got to get frustrated, though, at some point. They keep getting beaten down by this Indiana team every time. My guess would be at least Giannis, probably, but it's just totally speculative. You'll have the information well before lock at 7:30 Eastern. But I mean, that's really going to dictate what you do on the slate. You already see that guys like Beauchamp is going to be one of the most popular plays in the slate because there really isn't any value yet. That value should come to light. And whether or not anybody does sit, which I would bet my life on someone sitting, at least one guy sitting. Portis and Malik Beasley, I think, are both great tournament plays if everything stood the way that it is right now. It's definitely a potential blowout matchup. We know the Spurs can't defend anybody inside or outside. They play really, as does Milwaukee. Even on a back-to-back on a road travel game where someone is probably sitting, maybe it's Lillard this time, you're just playing whichever spend up, whether it's Lillard or Giannis, play the other one. You're playing Lopez. I'd say your Portis, I think, no matter what, if either of those guys sit. And I love Beasley as a tournament either way. Pat Connaughton, Andre Jackson, guys like that would come into the mix depending on who exactly sits. But again, probably won't have that information for about 7 or 8 hours or so. All right, moving over to the San Antonio side. I actually think that it's weird that you have the price on Wemby, and I understand that they've been limiting his minutes a little bit. I still feel like this is way too cheap. And I think in this type of pace game, I think they're going to start. I don't think they're going to stick with this, 20 minutes thing. It's going to fluctuate. Anyway, I like embracing the variance on this because I think that he might end up being the highest scoring player slate. So it's something you have to consider. I also think Champagne is very interesting. But really, you have the chalk plays that are obvious. Trey Jones. Vassell is one I don't mind fading on a 2-game slate because he's so shooting reliant. And if he's just, on the wrong side of it, I think that you can probably skip the Vassell play, even though it is a great matchup. And on paper, on a big slate, we'd probably be playing him, but he'd probably be 5% owned versus, what he's going to be 70% owned. Mamu, I don't know what to do with that one yet. They did give him extra last time in the situation, and I don't mind getting some exposure to him as we don't have that much value, but I think it is a little suspect by the time we get the Milwaukee value because I'm just assuming that someone's going to be sitting there. Keldon Johnson at lower ownership than Vassell is an interesting pivot. I think that's probably the way that I would go if everything locked right now. And again, you get the situation with Blake Wesley. But look, I mean, you're talking about Wesley projected within 3.5 points, 4 points of Osman. I think you just the slightly worse projected player at 1/10 the ownership, 1/8 the ownership. Right now, it's depending on where Goldie's got it at 1/3. Sabersim has it at 1/4. I think that you just take the lower owned guy, and that's it. On the Denver side, Denver at Golden State. This is another one that I have a hard time having a great feel for without knowing officially everything that's happening in the Milwaukee side. Because if we get that value from Milwaukee, obviously I'd love to play Jokic here. I think Jamal Murray though is the real play that I'd be the most interested in. He's put up some monster numbers at this price tag. I think that you really want to use him here. He also takes things like these matches against Steph and stuff like that really personally. I don't think he likes not being mentioned as one in the NBA, which he is. So I think this is a spot where I would definitely get to some Murray. I would go Murray, then Jokic, then Porter, then Gordon for me. But you certainly have some other potential value options, just probably going to be on the outside in for me on this slate. If there was one I wanted to just gamble with and play it in a tournament with 10,000 people, it would be a play like Julian Strawther. But I'm probably just okay with keeping it to the Murray, Jokic, Gordon, Porter situation. And as I always say about KCP is a guy you only play on these small slates because he doesn't have a real ceiling to get there rate, but you got a decent matchup. He's going to play 36 minutes, and it's just hard to find players in that price range. So KCP is definitely a guy you could look at for value if we don't get as much opening up from Milwaukee. On the Golden State side, pretty straightforward. Curry's so cheap now, but really his fantasy production, honestly, it has a lot to do with his teammates this year. Even his shooting, he just can't get open looks the same way he used to be able to, at least as consistently. And we've seen some monster games from him, but it's just been sort of like a rocky road. 9K, though, it's starting to get to the point where you want to price enforce it. Again, it's going to depend on what happens in Milwaukee. I do prefer the spend ups that I mentioned. I actually prefer Well, I don't know if I prefer Murray and Curry are probably in a very similar range. That 8K for Murray, that 9K for Curry, both feel about right. But I think Murray probably has more realistic upside. Obviously, Curry hasn't, the highest upside. It's just we only see it every 20 games or so from a DFS perspective. On the other stuff from Golden State, I would probably, I don't know, I'm a little lower on this situation. I think Kuminga is my second favorite play, and then Trayson Davis, probably followed by Podziemski, then Chris Paul. We all know Chris Paul always projects much better than he actually, produces. And I don't mind the long shot play of Wiggins and some Clay here. So I'm more on the non-studs for Golden State than I am the actual studs, although they're really just studs by name at this point. This is a very fractured team, and they know where they're going. Anyway, guys, I do miss y'all. It's been it feels weird to be away for a few days after literally, I think, going 40 days in a row with I think at least 2 or 3 shows a day. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. Please like, subscribe, and all that stuff. I wanted to remind everybody we have Brandon Cruz joining the team. A lot of you guys know him from the NASCAR stuff that he's done. He's really good at showdown stuff for NFL. And we're thrilled to have Brandon aboard. So if you welcome Brandon whenever you get a chance, Brandon Cruz DFS is his name in there. And let's get it today, guys. Good luck to everybody. I'm not able to play as I'm in Mexico, but you guys take everything down. And if anybody has any questions or anything, I will try to monitor the Discord as best I can. If it's not me, Rudy, Goldie, and Brandon Cruz will be in that out as well. So good luck to everybody, and hope to see you guys at the top of the leaderboard.